Welcome to Ghouls Night Out with your hostesses, Brandy and Jody.
Hello, beautiful ghouls. Thank you so much for listening. This is Brandy. I'm here with my sister Jody.
Hello.
So, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. I wanted to say that I don't know how good last week's episode was because we were not in our element at all. We were not at Jody's last week, so it just felt really weird, and I didn't like it. I feel way more.
This is our podcasting space.
Exactly.
So.
We've been using this space since the beginning. So,
yes.
Yeah, I don't know how good last week's was. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably why. But there was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about last week that I completely forgot. Actually, three things. Did you see in the news there was a couple that was remodeling their bathroom and they found a photo in the wall?
No, I didn't.
It was so funny because, and I pulled it up so you could see it.
Oh.
This is what they found. It was a photo of the couple that had lived there before, and they put, we are the I'm going to totally butcher that. I don't know how to pronounce their last name. But it says, we remodeled this bathroom in 1995. If you're reading this, that means you're remodeling the bathroom again. What's wrong with the way we did it?
Aww.
I know. And then underneath, they don't show it in this picture, but they show a picture of their little bunny that they had, and it said it was litter box trained, and it lived there too. It's super cute, and they found it while remodeling their bathroom.
That's cool.
I know. So
that's something cool instead of creepy that they found in their wall.
Yeah, exactly. It's adorable. So I wanted to talk about that last week, and I totally forgot. Like I said, I was not in my element. I didn't like it. I'm supposed to get out of the house.
Yes, that was the goal.
Yeah. So. Also, I wanted to talk about, I posted a couple of pictures that we took. We went to an antique mall in Kokomo, Indiana.
Yeah.
And I posted a couple of pictures of a couple of the creepy dolls. And I just wanted to say that, so we were driving, and, we grew up in Indiana, but again, we don't do geography. So
yes,
I never know where anything is. So we were just driving, and you mentioned that we were getting close to Sheridan,
yes,
Indiana, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, that's where Annie lives."
Yes.
And next thing I know, we're driving past 216th Street.
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh my God, Annie!"
We would have so went and looked at that house if we knew the address.
Yeah, for sure. I was like, I just don't know which way to turn. But I thought that was so crazy that we happened to, and it was like right after we read her story,
yeah,
too.
that was funny.
I know, so I definitely wanted to mention that. Another thing that I didn't mention last week was our freaking diet.
Oh, I was trying to not mention that because I've been not doing very well at all.
Jody.
I know. I can't get away from my Mountain Dews. They're
that's
bad.
hard. Yeah.
I think I'm seriously addicted to them.
That's definitely a thing. Did you know that they've done studies where, like, especially I think it's sweet things like chocolate, chocolate will trigger the parts of your brain that trigger like heroin addiction.
Really?
And cocaine addiction.
Well, no wonder.
Seriously, yeah. So it's definitely hard, but yeah. It's totally cool. I'm okay with being the hot sister.
Okay, now. All right. Keep talking like that. It's on.
No, I haven't really changed what I've been eating, but we actually went to Mackinac Island last weekend.
Oh, where's that at?
It is, well, you go to the top of Michigan, and you have to take a ferry. It's an island off of Michigan.
Oh.
And it was super fun. It's very touristy, but it's also like there's no cars on the island. So you either walk or you can rent bikes.
Ooh, that's cool.
I know. So we rented bikes, and we start pedaling along, and Aaron's like, "Oh yeah, there's a road that cuts across the island, so we can do half." I was like, "Okay, that's no big deal."
Let me guess. Was it uphill?
Oh no.
Oh.
No, it wasn't uphill. It was fairly flat.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no road.
Oh, what?
There was no road. We either totally missed it or there was no road. So we ended up bicycling around the entire island.
Oh my gosh.
It was 7 miles.
Wow.
I know. So plus the fact that we did that it took about 2 hours for us to do that. And, we obviously have kids and we had to stop a billion times. And we actually stopped and took a bunch of pictures. I'll show you.
Okay.
But yeah, it took us about 2 hours to do that. And then we turned it because it was like, I think it's $6 per bike per hour.
Oh.
So, the first hour, it was $24 for us to do that, basically.
Okay. All right.
So, which is, isn't bad, but we only had the bikes for a couple hours. So the rest of the time we had to walk. So I got so much freaking exercise, and I still exercised one day this week.
Wow.
So, like I said, I haven't been watching what I've been eating very much.
Yeah.
But I've been doing some exercising, so I've been proud
I
of
exercised one day.
myself. Well, that's a start. That's good.
I exercised. I'm like, man, this sucks. I haven't done it since.
Well, I did look up, and I should have looked more in depth because there's a hotel on Mackinac Island that's called the Grand Hotel, and it's supposed to be haunted.
Really?
Yeah. So we went to go there,
Yeah.
and we walked on the grounds, and someone immediately came up to us and said, to walk on the grounds, it's $10 a person.
What?
Yes!
Just to walk on the grounds?
Just to walk on the grounds. And then she was like, you can go, because we wanted to get something to eat. And she was like, well, there's a buffet that you can get, and the $10 can be refunded on that. Or there's a restaurant in there, and it won't be refunded on that. Which, a buffet for me and Aaron does not work. We can't eat most of the stuff on it.
Yeah.
So we're like, no, that's horrible. So yeah, we got the fuck out of there.
Oh, well, that sucks.
I know.
$10 a person?
Yeah.
What the fuck
I know. But I guess presidents have stayed there and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't get to go in the haunted hotel. But
that sucks.
I know. And I'm sure there were other places, but man, we were so tired by the time.
I bet.
By the time
Bike ride alone, I would have been like, oh my God.
I know. It was a lot. But yeah, that was really the only thing I did. It was one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then we had a good time, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
I saw a sign on the side of the road on my way home from work one day this week. And it said free manure.
Oh my gosh.
So in other words, here's some free shit.
Free shit.
Do people actually pay for manure?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they put it in like gardens.
Well, I know that, but can't you just go find some somewhere? I mean, I was talking to Peyton. I was like, who's gonna buy free shit? Or who's gonna get, whatever I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they can come over. We got a ton of rabbit shit they can have.
Well, I got some dog shit and I got some cat shit.
I got some cat shit. Free.
That sign just struck me as funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious. You should have
Free
taken a
manure.
picture.
Speaking
really
of
funny.
cats, my cat is a butt. I was sitting on the couch last night, minding my own business, and all of a sudden she jumps on my head. Like, literally, her whole body is on top of my head.
Oh my god.
I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Get off my head.
That's so disrespectful.
Oh my gosh. I about threw her across the room. And I keep saying her, and it's not a her.
That's
It's a
right.
him.
Oh, you'll get used to it. Well, Leia's a her. So
I know.
Yeah, that's got to be bad. I would do the exact same thing.
Oh, it made me so mad, though. Now I know how Leia feels when she goes to lay in her bed, and every single time Odin will go over there and start biting her and scratching her until she gets up so she can so he can lay there.
Oh, poor Leia.
And then Leia looks at me like, "Are you going to do something about this?" And I'm like, "Hey, you're on your own. Sorry."
Oh, the cat's gonna take over the house.
Yeah, I think that's what they do.
Yeah, they really do.
Oh, shut it. No, we don't want you here. We're just talking about you. Go away.
He meows a lot. My cat doesn't meow hardly ever.
It was funny because when we first brought him home, he would meow, but he was so little that you couldn't hear it. So it looks like he was just opening his mouth and nothing coming out.
Aww.
Now he's getting bigger and louder.
Yeah. Aw, he's cute.
Yeah, he's cute. He's a cute little butt. Anyway, well, do you just want to start in with our stories?
Sure, yeah, I'm probably gonna be a little long-winded. I got a bunch, so.
All right. Well, my stories, okay, so whenever you go to the movies and you see a superhero movie, or when you're watching TV and there's, someone that's got special powers or whatever, you always think, oh my gosh, that would be so cool to have those powers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, I've got stories of people that have superpowers, and these are real people, but they're not good.
Uh-oh.
It's not good
Oh.
for them to have these powers.
What?
So these are 10 superpowers real people have and why they're terrible.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so my first story is the little girl who doesn't feel pain. Olivia Farnsworth never feels pain. She was born with a condition called chromosome 6 deletion, which has left her with no sense of pain and no sense of danger whatsoever.
Oh my gosh.
In some ways, it's an incredible gift. It helped her survive getting hit by a car.
Whoa.
The car drove over her chest and dragged her several yards before finally stopping. And yet, while her family freaked out, Olivia just got up, waved at her mother, and said, "What's going on?"
Oh my gosh.
The only reason she survived was that her total lack of fear kept her from tensing up. Because she doesn't feel pain, she wasn't even bothered by what, for most of us, would have been a near-death experience.
Okay, wait. Okay, that really doesn't make sense. Because she's fully aware of what's happening, right?
Yes.
But getting run over by a car didn't faze her
Nope.
because she's not scared of anything?
Exactly. She's
Oh.
she's missing that part that most people have that triggers your brain saying, this isn't right,
Oh my gosh.
and then you just automatically tense up.
Right.
Well, she doesn't have that.
Oh my gosh.
So-
that's not good.
No, it's
oh my
not.
gosh.
For the most part, though, Olivia's condition is pretty much just horrible for everybody all the time. She never feels tired or hungry, so her mother has to force feed her food and sleeping medication just to keep her alive.
Oh my gosh.
Plus, our bodies feel pain for a reason, to keep us from getting hurt. With Olivia, that's never an issue. So she once managed to bite through her own lip without even noticing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I guess it's a good thing we feel pain.
Yeah.
It sucks, but you know.
Yeah, but I mean it's normal, I guess.
Yeah.
'cause-
All right, my next story is The Woman with Perfect Memory. Jill Price never forgets anything. She's been quizzed on everything that's happened in her life, and she's able to perfectly recall the date, time, and every tiny detail of everything she's ever experienced.
Whoa.
Her mind's like an unending video recorder that can replay any moment from her past.
That's
That
crazy.
sounds pretty cool, as long as you don't have to live through it. Price herself, though, calls it non-stop, uncontrollable, and totally exhausting.
Oh, wow.
Her memory is so vivid that she has trouble focusing on what's going on around her. She's constantly distracted by recollections of the past, making it extremely difficult for her to focus on learning new things. And her memory doesn't actually work on things that are worth remembering. She also only really remembers things from her own experiences. When she tries to memorize facts at school, her memory is, if anything, weaker than most other people.
Whoa.
That was one of the things that I thought would be so cool, to have that, what's it called, a photographic memory?
Yeah.
Where you remember everything.
Yeah.
But you don't really think about the consequences of that. I mean, our
No.
brains can only process so much, I guess.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, grass is always greener on the other
Yeah,
side.
until you experience it yourself, I
Yeah.
guess. The next one is The Family with Unbreakable Bones. In 1994, a man known only as John got in a terrible car crash. By all rights, it should have killed him, but miraculously, John was completely unharmed. He had no spinal fractures and not a single broken bone. When the doctors looked into it, they realized that nobody in his family had ever broken a bone in their whole lives. You may recognize John's life story as pretty much the plot of the movie Unbreakable.
Huh.
He's a real-life movie hero, a man born with unbreakable bones that are 8 times denser than the average person. And like the movie, he says his greatest weakness is water. John is simply too heavy to swim. But other people who share his condition have said that it makes life borderline unlivable in their later years. Their dense bones create what they've described as pounding and nauseating headaches, along with incredible fatigue and leg pains from dragging around their abnormally heavy skeletons.
Whoa.
When John gets a little older, there's a pretty good chance he'll realize that his problems are a lot worse than not being able to jump in a swimming pool.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's something that you really don't think about. How heavy are your bones?
Yeah.
Huh.
I think my bones are a little bit heavier than...
What makes you think that?
Because I don't look as heavy as I actually am.
Oh, I see
Like-
what you're saying.
It's like I could weigh 170 pounds and it looks like I weigh 130 to 140 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
That's just...
I think that's how I am.
That's
too.
why I don't like really... The only reason I look at a scale is when I'm actually like trying to lose weight, and it just so I can see how many pounds I've lost. But I try not to pay any attention to the actual weight because...
I try and go by the way my clothes fit, like the way I feel. Like,
Yeah.
'cause you can tell, if your body's used, or, you're used to your body being one way and it gets smaller, you're
Yeah.
going to notice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the way your clothes fit.
Well,
are-
they always say too, it's better to measure yourself than to weigh yourself.
Yeah, like your hips and your...
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that makes sense.
So. All right. The next one is the woman who can see 100 million colors.
Whoa.
Most people have 3 types of cones in their eyes, which allow them to see a spectrum of 7 million colors. The other millions of colors out there in the universe are imperceptible to all but a few animals, and one woman who is only known by the code name CDA29. CDA29 has 4 fully functioning color cone types, allowing her to see a massive spectrum of 100 million colors. She's seen a whole rainbow of colors, including millions upon millions that the rest of us are incapable of even imagining. This would be awesome if anybody else could see them. As it stands, though, the practical result is that she just sees a bunch of colors that she can't communicate to other people.
Wow.
For the most part, the complex shades she can see just make it hard for her to understand the colors other people are seeing. As a result, before it was confirmed that she had tetrachromatic vision, CDA29 was mistakenly labeled as colorblind.
Huh.
There's actually a theory that says that 2 to 3% of all women can see the full spectrum of 100 million colors, but just don't realize that there's anything special about it. Instead, like CDA29, they usually get written off as colorblind, and their male offspring actually are. In a strange twist of irony, the gene that lets some women see extra colors leaves men colorblind, meaning that CDA29 will never be able to share her unique vision with any of her sons.
That is crazy.
Yeah, how could you? There's no way you could explain a color to someone that
Yeah.
doesn't see it.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah.
There's nothing you can say.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's weird because I was watching something. What was it? Oh, we watched Flatliners last night, the new Flatliners movie.
Oh, yeah.
And did you see the old one?
I know I did, but I don't remember anything about
well, these college students, they basically kill themselves, and then because they want to know what's going on the other side.
it. Yeah, yeah.
And after they do that, they start experiencing other things. But anyway, that was one of the things that they said. They were like, I saw colors that I've never seen before. That just reminded me of it. That's weird.
All right. The next one is the man with fantastically stretchy skin.
Ooh.
Gary Turner is a real-life Mr. Fantastic. He was born with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a condition that gives him incredibly loose skin that can be stretched like a rubber band. Also, he is in constant pain every moment of his life. From the moment he wakes up to the moment he drags himself to sleep, Gary Turner feels a constant searing pain below his skin that hurts so badly that he has to wear morphine patches just to get through the day.
Oh, no.
That is horrible.
Yeah, that's bad.
His stretchy skin has also effectively left him a hemophiliac. The skin has a very hard time clotting blood, meaning that when he gets cut, blood usually just spills out of him without stopping.
Oh, gosh.
He takes so much pain medication to get by that he often passes out, sometimes staying unconscious for as long as 40 hours before he can snap out of it.
Oh, my gosh.
The constant bouts of unconsciousness make it impossible for him to finish school, severely affecting his options for the rest of his life. The only way he's been able to get by is to take a job as a circus performer. He works as a part of a modern freak show showing off his condition that tortures him for the entertainment of others.
Oh, my gosh.
That's sad.
These are bummers.
I know. Well. All right. The woman with mutant super beauty.
Shut up.
Elizabeth Taylor is a mutant. Technically speaking, her dazzling blue-violet eyes and doubly thick set of eyelashes are the result of a mutation of the FOXC2 gene that affects some women, causing them to grow extra eyelashes and to have a particularly stunning iris hue.
Huh.
The advantages to superhuman beauty are pretty obvious. In Elizabeth Taylor's case, they help propel her to superstardom. But it doesn't always work out as well as it did for her. The FOXC2 mutation can cause hair to grow in some uncomfortable places. Often, those extra eyelashes will rub against the woman's eyeball, which can be so irritating that it'll make them tear up.
Oh.
And if left untreated, it can even break down the surface cells of the eye on the eye until it starts to hurt her vision, or even makes her go blind. The mutation is also linked to a high risk of heart conditions. Women with the FOXC2 mutation are at a significantly higher risk of heart disease. Incidentally, this was what ultimately killed Elizabeth Taylor. And if Taylor's 8 marriages prove anything, it's that set of beautiful eyes can put a woman through a life of heartbreak before it finally makes the heart give out altogether.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'll just be ugly.
Yeah, really. Beauty is pain, ain't no joke.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The man who was immune to AIDS. Steve Crone had an inexplicable genetic mutation. For some reason, he was immune to AIDS. As he was a gay man living through the HIV epidemic, Crone seemed, from the outside, to be as lucky as any man could be. While the sexually transmitted disease was killing everyone around him, Crone stayed in perfect health, which sounds amazing as long as you don't think about it. Crone was forced to go on living while watching everyone he cared about die. Here's how he described his experience. What's hard is living with the continuous grief. You kept losing people every year. 6 people, 7 people. It's not easy when you're losing friends and you're that young, and it goes on for such a long period of time. Crone ended up going to doctor after doctor, begging them to study him because he simply couldn't understand why he was still alive. They ended up finding out that he had a genetic mutation that made him resistant to AIDS. But they couldn't actually do anything with it. They weren't able to use Crohn's condition to save the life of anybody else. In the end, watching his friends die became too much for Crone to handle. When he was 66 years old, he resolved to join them. Steve Crone committed suicide.
Oh, jeez.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
All right. These are really sad. Aren't they?
Yeah. Thanks
I
for
hope
bumming
I
us
hope
out.
yours are better. That's why we have the witty wrap up.
That's right.
All right. This one is the woman with super hearing. Justine Mitchell was 39 years old when she got superhuman hearing. She developed a condition called superior canal dehiscence.
Yep.
I don't know. That caused everything she heard to be amplified to incredible degrees. She was like Superman, basically, except that it was a bit more socially acceptable for her to walk around in blue tights. As it turns out, though, having super hearing makes life, in Mitchell's words, a misery. Mitchell's hearing was so strong that she could hear her own eyeballs moving.
Ooh, weird.
Oh my gosh, I would not want that.
No.
She said that moving her eyes to the side sounded like sandpaper on wood in my head.
Oh.
When your eyeballs are
Weird.
deafening, every other sound is absolute torture. Mitchell could hear her own heartbeat as loud as a drum. The hiss of a coffee maker was so loud that it made it hard for her to stay upright, and her own voice would make her nauseous. Eventually, Mitchell managed to get rid of her super hearing through a life-saving operation. It wasn't easy. The doctors gave her the choice between having her skull cracked open so they could operate on her brain, or plugging her ear canal with extra bits of muscle from around the ear. But Mitchell said it was more than worth it to be able to walk down a hall without passing out.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine being able to hear your eyeballs moving.
No.
I can't even imagine that.
That is insanity.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, would you just end up trying to? I mean, obviously, if it was super loud, I guess that would make it so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because you couldn't block that out.
No, you can't block it out inside your own head.
That's horrible. That's
gosh.
horrible.
Ugh. All right, the next one is the man with super intelligence. Now this one is the one that I always thought would be really cool.
Yeah.
Daniel Tammet has a superhuman brain. He's capable of reciting pi by memory to 22,514 decimal places.
Holy shit.
And he can master languages faster than most people can master asking where the washroom is. For example, after only spending 1 week of studying the language, he conducted a full interview in near flawless Icelandic.
Holy shit.
All of that would be great if all life required from people was to recite the digits of pi. But for Tammet, who has Asperger's and his extremely logical brain, a lot of the illogical things the rest of us do are almost impossible to understand. My brain breaks everything down into concretes and tangibles, Tammet has explained. I find intangibles hard to understand. Things like putting on a DVD, calling a taxi, or doing algebra equations, which use letters to represent unknowns, are very confusing for Tammet, as he gets so easily distracted that he isn't allowed to drive a car. But the hardest challenge for him is understanding when other people's actions don't make perfect scientific sense. Emotions, in particular, are very confusing for him. Tammet says that when he used his abilities to pull off a real-life Rain Man victory at Vegas, he had to put on a fake show of happiness. He didn't really feel much of anything, but he did for everyone watching him. He knew it was what they expected. Kind of reminds me of Big Bang Theory.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Sheldon, he's kind of...
Did you know that Asperger's is not a thing anymore?
No, I didn't.
Asperger's and autism are the same thing.
Oh, are they?
And people were getting very confused because it's the same thing, but they were trying to separate it into something that was different.
Yeah.
And it's not. So
Oh.
Asperger's is not a thing. It's all autism.
Oh, just different degrees of it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then my last one is the man who fears nothing. Jorny Cernik isn't afraid of anything. He doesn't even have the option to be afraid. Over the course of 2 surgeries undertaken to treat his Cushing's syndrome, he had the glands that produce adrenaline removed, and now he's physically incapable of being scared.
Oh my gosh.
There are some definite upsides to living without fear. Cernik can jump out of a plane without feeling even the slightest bit of nervousness. And he does, often. He started using his special power to do stunts to raise money for charity. But jumping out of a plane doesn't really give Cernick the same thrill it gives the rest of us. In fact, pretty much everything is boring for him. He said that when he goes on a roller coaster ride with his family, he's about as excited as he would be sitting still at the kitchen table. That doesn't mean he feels nothing, though. Cernick does feel one thing: constant, unending pain.
Oh,
He still suffers from Cushing's syndrome, which has left him with brittle arthritic bones. Now that he doesn't have adrenaline, though, he no longer has one of the body's most potent natural painkillers, meaning that every ache he feels is far, far worse.
Oh, God.
And doesn't that suck?
Yes.
All the things that you think would be like so cool.
Yeah.
And turns out it's not.
Well, it's only cool if you have control over it.
Yeah.
And none of these people have control over it.
Not to mention some of them cause like excruciating pain.
Right. The thing that gets me is the hearing, though. If I heard everything amplified all the time, I think I would go fucking nuts.
You would go crazy.
Yeah,
you would.
That's awful. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine.
And well, not only that, it's not like she was born with it.
Yeah.
It just like all of a sudden started
Oh.
happening when she was 39 years old.
Oh no.
That's just
Yeah,
I
that's
can't.
awful.
Yeah.
I couldn't live with that. That would drive me absolutely insane.
well, luckily they were able to operate on her and
Right. Yeah, that's true. Forgot it said that. Yeah, thank goodness for doctors, man.
really.
Okay. I forgot a couple more things at the beginning that I meant to mention. First, did you hear about the new title for American Horror Story?
No.
It's American Horror Story Apocalypse.
Oh no.
And the poster or whatever for it is like kind of like a Rosemary's Baby with a scary witch hand. Like,
Ooh.
yeah. So creepy.
Hmm.
So I thought I'd mention
I
that.
wonder if that's going to be any good this time.
I don't know. Give it a shot.
It's hit or miss with
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. Oh, and also the Ghost Walk is next week.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to mention that because there's a possibility that our episode might not come out on Tuesday. So I just want to warn everybody about that.
Yeah, because it's going to be the same time we normally record our
Right.
podcast,
So we'll probably have to record Saturday, which gives me one less day, which I may be able to do it. I don't know. But if it's late, sorry. If it's not, it's not.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. So I wanted to mention that as well.
Okay.
So I will go ahead with mine, and I focused on karma.
Okay.
And we are all going to go on a ride of roller coaster emotions through this because I've got some that are going to make us laugh, some that are going to make us cry, and some that are going to, it's like sweet revenge.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So first I wanted to kind of there's like 5 facts about karma and exactly what it is. First, fact number 1 is what you give is what you get in this world. So what you give, you will get in return.
And
What
I
goes around comes
totally
around.
believe that.
Well, okay. This is what happened to me, and I it took me a long time to get over it, honestly, because it was literally September 11th, 2001, day of 9/11.
Oh, okay.
And I worked at the bank at the time, and I was on my lunch break, and a guy comes up to my window, and I had borrowed $20 from our parents, and I had spent some on food that day, so I had a 10 and 2 ones left. And this guy comes up to my window and says, "I need $6 for a new tire," which I knew was probably bullshit,
Yeah.
but our country just got terrorized by, these
Yeah.
people. And I was like, okay, so I gave him the 10. Mm-hmm. He saw my name tag and he was like, "Do you work at this bank over here?" And I was like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
But I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I promise I will come in and give you your money back." Never happened. But I was like, well, at least I did something good.
Yeah.
So that happened. Then it was, I don't remember when it was, but I had gone to Starbucks, and it was when, do you remember when it was like a big thing that people would pay for?
Pay it forward.
Yes. So people were paying for everyone's Starbucks.
Yeah.
So I saw this lady behind me in the drive-thru. She was by herself. So I asked how much hers was, and it was like one drink, you know.
Yeah.
So I paid for hers. And the next day, or following that, my dog died,
Oh,
and my son got physically abused at his school.
what the hell?
Yeah. So I was like, fuck the universe. I am not doing anything good for anybody else. And seriously, it took me a long time to get over
Yeah.
those. Not necessarily the first one, because I kind of figured it wouldn't happen. You know, I was like, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to give him like basically all my money and just hope that he pays me back. Totally didn't do it.
Yeah.
But the second one, I was like, you know what? Fuck this.
Yeah.
I do something good for somebody, and two things very close together happen. You know, I was like, whatever. So it took me a long time to get over that, and I eventually did, and I started doing nice things for people again. But I was like, fuck this. So I'm really not, I'm honestly not sure about the what you give is what you get, because
Well, that doesn't necessarily. There's no time limit, and it doesn't mean that you're gonna get
But it
anything.
was very, very, when I paid for that damn woman's coffee, it was like really close after, but like that, I think the next day or the day out, you know, like one day in between,
Yeah.
was when my dog died. And then I think it was like the next week when Joel comes home with rug burns on him. So I don't know. Yeah. So me and Karma have had a bit of a
A little bit of a struggle.
yeah. Okay, so number 2 is, if you wish to change anything external, you must change yourself from inside. So, you know, if you give out good vibes, you're going
Yeah.
to change the world around you. Number 3, your internal state influences your surroundings, and your surroundings influence your internal state. That is why it is better to choose your surroundings carefully. Also, it is better to choose your thoughts, words, and deeds carefully to keep your internal state clean.
Okay.
So, think positive, people. Number 4, which I need to follow my own advice there. Number 4 is, your past deeds, thoughts, and behavior may influence your present. Therefore, choose every action carefully.
Yeah.
Number 5 is, there's nothing like a free lunch in this world, and one must work hard to attain anything. So,
Yeah.
and I think, honestly, at the end of the day, I just try and know that in every situation that I was in, I did the right thing.
Exactly.
I feel good about myself, and that's that. So, I'm going to start with some feel-good stories.
Are you sure we shouldn't start with the bad
No,
ones
I'm going to
here?
bring you guys up, and I'm going to slam you right
All
back down.
right.
It's going to be great. And then you'll bring us back up with some witty rabbit.
Okay.
Okay, so when James Harrison was 14 years old, he nearly died. It took a major chest operation to save his life. The surgeons had to remove one of his lungs, allowing 2 liters of blood to leave his body in the process. He only survived, Harrison understood, because people he had never met before had donated blood that now filled his body, and he wanted to do that for someone else. Harrison resolved that as soon as he was old enough, he would donate blood as often as he could. He went through it, donating his first pint of blood on his 18th birthday. Doctors started to realize, though, that Harrison's blood was unusual. It had antibodies that were basically the cure for rhesus disease, a blood disorder that can cause babies to be born with crippling brain damage or even die. They asked Harrison to donate plasma regularly and let them run tests, and he agreed. His blood became the cure. Harrison now in his 70s, has saved the lives of more than 2 million babies.
Gosh.
He didn't just save strangers' lives, though. When his own daughter Tracy became pregnant, she was diagnosed as being at risk for rhesus disease. Harrison's blood donations ensured that her baby was born safely. Because he donated blood when he was 18, James Harrison was able to become a grandfather.
Oh.
I know. And I hope I pronounced that right. It's Rhesus. Rhesus. I don't know. Okay, my next one. When Roger Lausier was 4 years old, he wandered away from his mother during a trip to the beach in 1965. He made his way alone into the water and tried to swim, but an undercurrent pulled him down. He would have died, but a stranger named Allison Blaze dove into the water and pulled him to shore, where she revived him and saved his life. 9 years later, 13-year-old Roger was out on the same beach when he heard a woman scream, "My husband is drowning." Roger didn't realize that this woman he had met before, but he rushed into action anyway. He jumped into an inflatable raft, paddled out to the man, and pulled him on, saving his life. Nobody there realized the strange cosmic coincidence that just had happened until the news reported it the next day. It wasn't until then that Alice Blaze realized that the young man who had saved her husband's life was the 4-year-old boy whose life she had once saved.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know! That's crazy. I mean, coincidence. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Jim Becker started donating blood because he was a dedicated Green Bay Packers fan. He couldn't fit tickets to their games into his budget, so he justified buying them by donating blood. He donated a pint of blood every chance he got, and he rewarded himself for his good deed by using the money to buy tickets to an NFL game. Donating blood, it turned out, was the only reason he lived. In 1975, after more than 20 years of regularly donating blood, Becker found out that he had hemochromatosis, a disorder that creates a toxic buildup of iron in the organs, usually treated by bloodletting. Becker had likely had the disease for close to 20 years, but he'd been accidentally treating it the entire time by giving blood.
Oh my gosh.
After his diagnosis, he was given proper treatment by medical professionals, but Becker wouldn't have lived long enough to get diagnosed if he hadn't have given blood. He donated blood hoping it would save someone's life, and by chance, he had saved his own.
That's cool.
I know, that's crazy. That's great. I love it. Okay, next one. Oh, I'm going to butcher this last name, so sorry in advance. Victor Geisbrecht, I'm guessing, and his wife Ann were driving down a Wisconsin interstate in 2011 when they spotted two young women pulled over on the side of the road. The women, Lisa Meyer and Sarah Berg, had sprung a flat, and they didn't know how to change a tire. The Geisbrechts, on the other hand, were experienced motorists. They had happily pulled over, helped the stranger change their tire, and got them back on the road. The women thanked the Geisbrechts and went on their way. The women, sorry. A short while later, the Geisbrechts' truck driving in front of them veered over to the side of the road. The women pulled over to see what was wrong and immediately saw Ann Geisbrecht running out, screaming that her husband was having a heart attack. Lisa and Sarah might not have known how to change a tire, but as nursing assistants, Sarah knew what to do when someone was having a heart attack. She gave Victor CPR while her friend called 911. The paramedics made it to the scene, and Victor survived the heart attack that could have killed him purely because he had stopped to help a stranger on the side of the road.
That's so cool.
I know.
I love these kind of stories.
I know. Okay. Next one. Christopher Dempsey gave up half his liver for someone he'd never met. He overheard a coworker he barely knew talking about his cousin who had stage 4 liver disease. She needed a liver transplant, but there were 119,000 people
Oh my god.
on the transplant list before her, unless she found a donor. She would only have 2 more months to live. Dempsey didn't know the family well, but he didn't think it was right to let her suffer, so he butted in to offer to get himself tested to see if he was a match. When he found he was, he agreed to donate part of his liver. The woman whose life he had saved was named Heather Kruger, and they didn't meet until after he had promised to give her his liver. When they did, though, they fell in love. They started dating after the operation, and in 2016, 2 years after saving her life, Chris Dempsey got married to the woman who he would have never met if he hadn't agreed to give up an organ for a total stranger.
Aww.
No, I know. Next one is Dr. Michael Shannon went through hell when his SUV was T-boned by a truck on the highway in 2011. The truck that smashed into him ended up pinning his vehicle down, trapping him inside as his engine caught fire. There was no way out and the fire was spreading. By the time the rescue team came, Dr. Shannon's legs were on fire. The rescuers ultimately managed to put out the fire and get him out with the jaws of life, saving him from certain death. A paramedic named Chris Trokey pulled Shannon from the wreckage and got him to the hospital, but he didn't realize whose life he was saving until he got there. At the hospital, he heard the patient's name, Dr. Shannon, and realized who he had just rescued. Trokey had been born premature, weighing just 1.5 kilograms, which is 3.2 pounds, and wasn't expected to survive. Dr. Shannon, though, had spent sleepless nights working to keep him healthy. He was the only reason Chris Trokey survived his first day of life, and now Trokey was the reason Dr. Shannon survived his accident. That's so wonderful.
I know. That's cool.
Okay. Next one, Bob Marlin spent his life as a CPR trainer for the fire department and for most every emergency department in town. He shared his knowledge with everyone he could, training the city's paramedics and even giving seminars at local businesses, including the golf course where he had his heart attack. He had just made a line drive when his chest started hurting. His brother Bill, remembering what Bob had taught him, yelled for help and gave him CPR. An employee at the golf club rushed over and used a defibrillator, while others called paramedics to rush Bob to the hospital. Half a dozen people were involved in his rescue, and every one of them was someone Bob Marlin had trained. His life was saved by people using the techniques he had taught them. Next one, when Kevin Stephen was 10 years old, he served as a bat boy for his little brother's baseball team and nearly died. A young boy who was warming up swung his bat a bit too carelessly, slamming it into Stephen's chest hard enough to stop his heart.
Wow.
Fortunately, I wonder who that kid's playing for now.
Yeah, really.
Fortunately, a nurse named Penny Brown was in the crowd. She rushed over and gave him CPR. It got his heart beating again and saved his life. 7 years later, in 2006, Kevin got to pay her back. Penny was eating at a restaurant he worked at when she started choking on her food. Stephen, unaware that this was the woman who had once saved his life, rushed over as soon as he heard and gave her the Heimlich maneuver. He cleared the blockage and found out, a little afterward, that he had just repaid a 7-year-old debt.
Oh.
This one might make you cry.
Oh, no.
Billy Ray Harris was begging for money in Kansas City when he got a stroke of incredible luck. A young woman named Sarah Darling had meant to drop a few coins into his cup, but her engagement ring slipped off, and the homeless man now had a ring worth what, to him, was a small fortune. His first instinct was to pawn it, but when the jeweler shop nearby offered him $4,000, a pang of guilt stopped him from making the sale. He couldn't bring himself to do it. Instead, he just waited until he saw Sarah Darling again and asked her if she'd lost her ring. Darling wanted to repay him and set up an online fund hoping to raise a few dollars for the homeless man who had helped her. The story, though, went viral, and Harris got a lot more than he could have expected. The story drew attention of Harris's estranged family. His sister managed to track him down and invited him in, bringing him back into a family he hadn't seen in years and letting him meet his nieces and nephews for the first time. When it was all over, the Darlings raised more than $185,000 for Billy Ray Harris.
Wow.
He was able to buy a home and a car and get his life back on track, which is worth a lot more than $4,000.
That's so cool.
I know. And see, that's fucking karma. What goes around comes around.
Yeah.
He was going to do it and he didn't do it and he did the right thing and now that's so great. Okay, so now I have some stories about some not so good karma. So Tyler A. Myers was just that guy. He stole stop signs in his spare time. But Tyler's theft went beyond that standard pubescent rebel flag. I said rebel. Sorry. The stop sign hung defiantly on his bedroom wall. Myers was a serial thief. Turns out a lot of stop signs were going missing in Norwalk, Ohio, which can obviously cause some potentially deadly traffic problems. Then one night, presumably while out Robin Hooding some stop signs, stealing from those who had too much traffic control to give to those poor saps with no road signs at all, Myers ran an inexplicably unstolen stop sign. When he drove onto the highway after blowing straight through the intersection, he was hit by a semi and later pronounced dead on the scene.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, don't steal stop signs, guys. Okay, this one. In Spotsylvania Courthouse Battle of the American Civil War, the North and the South were duking it out. Union General John Sedgwick was directing artillery rather than fighting directly. Confederate snipers were constantly taking shots at the men as they pushed the guns into position. Early in the day, his chief of staff warned Sedgwick not to go near the line for fear of sharpshooters. But Sedgwick went to the line anyway, and when gunfire rang out, he had his artillery line moved back to help keep his men safe. When Sedgwick saw his men ducking for cover, he berated and shamed them. He mocked his men for being cowards and said, "Men dodging this way for single bullets? What will you do when they open fire along the whole line? I'm ashamed of you." Although embarrassed, Sedgwick's men continued to flinch. One soldier even stood up to the general and said that he was only alive because he dodged a bullet in an earlier battle. Sedgwick laughed it off. The general then repeated, "I'm ashamed of you, dodging that way. They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance." And then immediately took a bullet through his left eye.
Are these supposed to be like the bad ones? Because so far they're pretty funny.
What do you mean?
Well, it's people that are stupid. Anyway.
Yes, these are. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, these are mostly funny.
Yeah, okay.
So there's maybe a creepy one, but there's some funny ones in here too. Yeah, there's like a lot of. I just went like all over the place.
Okay.
I wasn't doing one because the first ones were really good.
Yeah, those were good.
Okay, so on New Year's Eve in Russia, the Red Square gets absolutely packed full of drunks. This, of course, makes it prime target for terrorists who enjoy nothing more than blowing up huge crowds. The terrorist plan was fairly simple. A woman with an explosive-laden belt was to join the Red Square crowd for their New Year's celebration, when she would ring in 2011 by murdering thousands of innocent civilians. It is probably worth noting, in case of common sense didn't already tip you off, that terrorists generally don't use their best and brightest as their suicide bombers. If they did, then maybe the amazing exploding woman would have thought to turn off her phone, which was also acting as the bomb's detonator, until it was time to go. But maybe she was hoping to pass the time until her own violent death with a few games of Angry Birds, because she left that phone, and therefore the bomb, fully activated all day. The woman's phone received a Happy New Year spam text from her service provider several hours before the attack was scheduled. The final body count of the New Year's Eve bomb plot? One lonely suicide bomber sleeping it off in hell.
It's so bad.
Oh, yeah, no.
Stupid bitch.
Seriously, fuck off. Okay. Okay. Back in 2007, the Chicago Blackhawks were in a match against the Colorado Avalanches, and Blackhawks Steve Sullivan was having a rough game. He had to leave. This is hockey, just to let you know. So Steve Sullivan was having a rough game, and he had to leave for a short time after his face was cut open from taking a high stick to the nose, which would put any normal man in the hospital for a week, but merely warrants a short time out for a hockey player. Plus, a Colorado fan apparently found Sullivan's injury hysterical and hurled insults while Sullivan was taken off the ice, gushing blood. The guy heckled Sullivan, an injured man, relentlessly.
What a dick.
Exactly. He appeared to genuinely enjoy the concept of a serious head injury. Sullivan re-entered the game and scored 2 goals on Colorado goalie Patrick Roy. Roy, desperately trying to clear the puck from the goal, accidentally shot it over the boards and hit the fan with the world's most punchable face right in the head.
Aww.
Sullivan, being a hockey player and not a Catholic saint, couldn't resist going over to the dickish fan with giving a little grief back. As Sullivan later noted, the shot was practically a miracle where the fan was sitting, making it almost impossible to hit accidentally or not. So he was, just to rub salt on the proverbial head wound, the fan also ended up needing more stitches than Sullivan. To rub lemon juice in the salt, there's a picture, which I'm going to post it on the Facebook page. There's video of this.
Oh.
So, but they've got a picture of the fan's girlfriend laughing and giving Sullivan a thumbs up while her boyfriend bleeds out into a t-shirt. So I'm gonna post. I'm gonna
So
post
do you think
those.
he's single now?
Maybe. It's so funny though because there's a YouTube video, and like I said, I'll try and post both. There's a YouTube video and then a picture of his girlfriend. And the YouTube video, you can see him. He's being a total dick. And then, like, all of a sudden, he's, like, holding his face. So, yeah, I'm going to post that on the Facebook page. So, look at
So
that.
great when people get what they deserve.
Oh, I know. It's fucking awesome. Okay, these are most of them, I think, are pretty short. They just were, like, from people that wrote in. So, a witness...
Okay, did you take more than one drink?
Yes, I took 2.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I witnessed a road rage incident where a man got out of his car at a red light, went to the door of the driver of a minivan, and yelled at the window for a minute. When the light turned green, he went back to his car and his door was locked. That's so fucking awesome. Could you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
I would love
I would be cracking up.
Love to see that. That's hilarious. Okay. This one's pretty funny too. When I was in high school, there was always a bit of a bottleneck to get out of the student parking lot at the end of the day. Basically, you had to let people pull out of the aisles as you came down the side so you could leave. We used to have something like that, didn't we?
Yeah.
I let a car go from the last aisle, and then this guy I knew, the weirdest, douchiest kid in school, tried to give himself the worst, cringiest nicknames on multiple occasions, darted out in front of me, and then he and his dipshits in his car started pointing and laughing at me. While he was looking back at me, he rear-ended the car in front of him.
Oh my gosh, people are such assholes.
I know, that's hilarious. Okay, I was commuting into Atlanta for a work matter. Dude in a nice car was cutting lanes and going like 90 miles an hour. 2 cars in front of me, he cuts off a Dodge Charger, and it flicks on its undercover lights. It made my day since Atlanta traffic was terrible, and everyone living in Georgia knew that. But it was douchebags like this that came to take your commute time from an hour to 2 hours because they were careless and crashed. Next one is got to work and immediately got asked to deal with a difficult customer who had rang the store from a parking bay into our car park. Who had rang the store from a parking bay in our car park. Oh, so she's like parked out in the parking lot and calling him, right?
I guess.
Lady says she has the wrong frozen drink and wants a refund and a replacement. Literally $1. I take out the $1 and try to find out what drink she wants. She goes off because she also wanted a refund for the fries because the event has made her sick to her stomach because of bad customer service.
Oh my god.
I say that I didn't know she wanted a full refund as it wasn't mentioned on the phone. She keeps going on about how she's going to be late for the 4 minutes she spent in the park and rants 5 more about service before I tell her that I'm going to get a refund to try and make sure that she still gets to her event. She throws a bag of fries at me, hitting me in the chest, and I grab it and walk off to get her refund. She keeps yelling until I get back with the $2.60. Turns out the man behind her watched the whole thing, and because she was in the company car, he reported her to the company. She was fired that afternoon.
Aww.
The lady then tried to get me fired by saying I caused it, and to get compensation, our customer service team laughed at her, and eventually my owner had to call her. When he called her, she started swearing at him, and he told her, "If you're going to swear at me, I'm going to tell your company again," and hung up. Only time I think the abused staff member was actually the big win in my job.
I don't understand what people's problems are. I mean,
I know.
seriously?
That's A, gonna make you look like a moron.
Mm-hmm.
It's B, not gonna get you anything.
Exactly.
And
And
like,
what was her refund? $2?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, and look what happened. And that's kind of why I read the facts in the beginning, because you know what goes around comes around, and if you put that negative energy out into the universe, you're gonna get that back tenfold.
Yeah.
So yeah, just be nice, and you know what? If your fries are cold or something, just eat them and be fucking happy.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't understand people.
I don't either.
Just like I said, at the end of the day, when my head hits that pillow, I know that I did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am a happy person. Yeah, I have to worry about, I can't worry about people like that. It's crazy. Okay, this one's funny. My 3-year-old came out of her room and punched me in the butt. She turned and ran away and ran into the wall. I laughed. Toddlers are little shits. This one is unbelievable. This guy is Mercutio Ferro. He is in São Paulo, Brazil. He's sprinting away because he is about to rob a drugstore. While he was inside the drugstore, his car got stolen because the engine was running. When he was trying to think how he was going to make a getaway without a car, another thief stole his money bag. He then went to the police to report the theft of his car. At the same time, the owner of the drugstore was denouncing him. The police arrested him immediately. And this is, quote, "There's so much violence today that no one goes out to steal and returns home poorer than before."
That should be on that. What was
Fucking
that show?
hilarious.
World's Dumbest Criminals or
Yes.
something.
Oh my gosh. So he goes into a drugstore, leaves his car running. Someone steals his fucking car. So he puts down the money he stole because he doesn't know how he's going to get away. And someone steals that. And he's like, "Motherfucker." So he goes to the cops and it's like, "Someone stole my car." And he gets arrested. That is a bad night. Gosh, people are fucking dumb.
Oh my gosh, they are.
Okay, this is my last one. So, Mel Ingato was acquitted for the murder of girlfriend Brenda Sue Schaefer in 1988. Photos then surfaced making it clear he bound her to a glass coffee table in his apartment and brutally murdered her. Double jeopardy prevented the new trial. He was only given 8 years for perjury. After his release, he hit his head and cut his arm on the same coffee table. Mel Ingato died slowly and alone from all of the injuries. So, that same coffee table that he,
Good fucker.
seriously, that was her coming back and being like, "I don't fucking think so.
Exactly.
Motherfucker, you're getting what I got." So, yeah, those are my karma stories. I wanted to focus on those.
I have a karma story.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Tell me.
It's not me personally, but the old company I used to work for, when I first started working there, it was owned by this family. And it's kind of hard to explain. Do you know the Good Old Boys Club where, all the managers were all men?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's how it used to be.
So totally like Mad Men.
I don't know, I never saw that.
It's very, like, all the men were the executives and the women were the secretaries.
Women were okay.
Yeah.
So we had this HR director. He was, an older man, and he basically acted like he was king of the company. He couldn't do anything wrong and blah, 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 whatever. Of course,
yeah.
So he got this new assistant, and, she's young, big boobs, blonde hair. Well, she had him, wrapped around her finger.
Oh, my God.
Then the girl that I was friends with worked in our money room. That's where they counted all the money and stuff. And she's one of those people that she tells it like it is.
Yeah.
You know, she's not.
Why
she
fuck
don't-
around? Life's too
Exactly.
short.
Okay, so her and this blonde assistant got into it one day.
Okay.
Okay, so the blonde assistant goes to the HR director and cries about it.
Which is the old guy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And cries about it. So, what proceeded to happen after that was him and his security director, which is another good old boy,
Yeah.
started trying to get her fired.
What the fuck?
I mean, stupid shit.
yeah.
Like, the security director would go into the money room and put on a glove and feel on top of the shelves to see if they'd been cleaned recently. Just stupid
What?
stuff. Yeah,
How is
because
that her job?
she runs the money room.
Oh, fuck
Okay.
that.
But that's because that's the only thing they could try to get her on, because she ran that money room good. I mean, she was awesome. So,
Assholes.
yeah, so they kept writing her up for stupid shit. Well, they finally got her fired. So then, about a year later, that company gets bought out by a new company. Well, almost immediately, they see what's going on, because it's very obvious.
You mean between him and her?
No, just they see that it's run by the good old boy club.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the HR director gets fired.
Oh.
The security director gets fired. The blonde bimbo gets fired.
Nice.
And guess who they called to offer her job back?
Yes.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so awesome.
That is awesome.
It is. So she came back to work there, and all the other ones were gone.
Fuck yes.
Now,
That's
that
awesome.
to me, that is karma.
Yeah.
Coming back to bite you fuckers in the ass.
Absolutely.
I was so pissed off about that.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Oh my gosh. I was like, ugh. That pissed me off.
Absolutely. that's
That
definitely
day that she came back, I was like, if I could have, I would have been doing flips down the hallway. I was like, ha, you fuckers.
Seriously, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love that story.
Yeah.
I love that
That's
story.
great. I don't think you've ever told me that one.
I didn't? Oh my
don't think
gosh.
so.
I love it.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, this was a really fun topic for me to look up, because I wanted, like I said, I found a few good ones. I found a few funny ones. I found a few that were like, fuck yeah, like
Yeah,
that, you know.
yeah.
So I kind of was all over the place this week with it, but
That's cool.
yeah.
'Cause, yeah, karma's a bitch.
Yeah.
You better watch it.
Yep.
All right, so it's time for our witty wrap up. My first one is, I grew up in a college town, and one Halloween our doorbell rang and we opened the door expecting to see trick-or-treaters. But what was in front of our open door was another door, like a full-on wooden door that had a sign that said, "Please knock." So we did, and the door swung open to reveal a bunch of college dudes dressed as really old grandmothers, curlers in their hair, etc., who proceeded to coo over our costumes and tell us we were such cute trick-or-treaters. One even pinched my cheek. Then they gave us candy, closed their door, picked it up, and walked to the next house.
That is so cool. I know, but you're doing it wrong. That is the weirdest thing I think I've ever heard.
That is cool, though.
It is. It's yeah.
Like you're trying to give, your candy to little trick or treat, but you get some in return. All right. A woman and a lawyer were seated next to each other on a flight from LA to New York. The lawyer asked if she would like to play a fun game. The woman, tired, just wanted to take a nap, politely declined and rolled over to the window to catch a few winks. The lawyer persists and explains that the game is easy and a lot of fun. He explained, I ask you a question, and if you don't know the answer, you pay me $5, and vice versa. Again, she declines and tries to get some sleep. The lawyer, now agitated, says, okay, if you don't know the answer, you pay me $5, and if I don't know the answer, I will pay you $500. This catches the woman's attention, and figuring there will be no end to this torment unless she plays, agrees to the game. The lawyer asks the first question. What's the distance from the Earth to the moon? The woman doesn't say a word, reaches into her purse, and pulls out a $5 bill and hands it to the lawyer. Okay, says the lawyer, your turn. She asks the lawyer, what goes up a hill with 3 legs and comes down with 4 legs? The lawyer, puzzled, takes out his laptop computer and searches all his references. No answer. He taps into the airphone with his modem and searches the net and the Library of Congress. No answer. Frustrated, he sends emails to all his friends and co-workers. To no avail. After an hour, he wakes the woman and hands her $500. The woman says thank you and turns back to get some more sleep. The lawyer, who is more than a little miffed, wakes the woman and asks, well, what's the answer? Without a word, the woman reaches into her purse, hands the lawyer $5, and goes back to sleep.
That is the best thing I've ever heard. Oh my gosh.
It's like, fine, you wanted to play a game, motherfucker, I'll play with you.
That is fantastic. Which reminds me, did you hear about, it was a woman on an airplane and she wanted to sit next to her husband, so she asked the girl that was in her seat to move to where she was supposed to be sitting. And she started tweeting about, because the girl that she asked to move started talking to the guy that was sitting next to her, and she started tweeting like, oh my god, they're flirting, and they're, you know, they haven't stopped talking since we, you know, since they sat down, and it was like super cute. And she took a picture of them walking, like they got off the plane and was like walking together, and she was like, oh my god, you know, it's the cutest thing. Well, people started slamming her for photographing people without their knowledge.
Oh
and
my gosh.
and like, how dare you talk about these people without. I was like, oh my god, come on. She was just having some fun.
People
gives a
are,
shit?
like I said before, people are assholes.
Seriously. And you know, like, everyone was like apologizing for getting involved because it was fucking cute.
Yeah.
And everyone was having a good time, and then some most likely asshole was like, oh, you invaded their privacy, and it was just like, they made it so bad. I was
Yeah.
like, come on.
Those are the people that obviously don't have lives of their own, or they're unhappy in their own lives.
Well, it was
And
even the girl that she took the picture of, that she asked to move. She was like, you, how dare you photograph me and put false pretenses on what we were doing? And
Oh my god.
I know, I was like, you know what? Who cares? So yeah,
People
like,
are
sorry, I
stupid.
would love for everyone to listen, but if you don't like what we're saying, you don't have to listen to us. But anyway,
Can I get
please
back
listen.
to my witty wrap?
Yeah,
up
sorry.
now? Okay.
that reminded me of this plane story,
Yeah.
you know. Okay, sorry.
All right. So one time when I was in 8th grade, my school went on a camping trip at this camp, and at night we all went around the campfire and told stories. One of the instructors pointed up at the hill where a bunch of deer had gathered. He explained that baby deer make certain noises to call their mothers over. He said if you were really quiet, you could hear them. Suddenly, this huge guy came out from the forest and yelled, "Yo, mama, where you at?" Okay. Guy comes into the emergency department via ambulance with burns on his lower extremities. His shoes are charred and the bottom of his pants are definitely burned away, but his skin isn't that bad. He had been trying to use a propane-powered weed burner in his yard. Think flamethrower. And things got a little out of control. I smelled alcohol in his breath, so I asked the guy if he had been drinking, and he looked me directly in the eye and said, "No." I got drunk just standing next to him. It was a once in a lifetime setup, and I couldn't help myself. As straight-faced and professionally as possible, I said, "Sir, liar, liar, pants on fire." The paramedics all turned at once and ran out of the room. They were laughing so hard. The patient just stared at me. He was so drunk it went totally over his head.
I read on Facebook this week, this guy said it's really stupid, But he said he was standing in the gas station here in town.
I know. I saw this
Did
too.
you?
Yes. That was
Stupid.
great. Go ahead and tell it.
Okay.
No.
He said he was standing in the gas station and he saw this dumbass woman pumping gas and smoking a cigarette at the same time. And he like turned away and there were a couple of cops standing in the gas station with him. And they were all just like watching her. And he turned over turned back to her and her arm was on fire and she was waving it around everywhere. So the cops like kind of spring into action, they get her put out and he says next thing he knows he's looking back and they're putting her in handcuffs. And he was like, why would they put her in handcuffs? So he walked out and he was like, why are you guys arresting her? And they said, she was waving a firearm. Someone commented there. Yeah, she was like, that didn't happen, really? It's like, no, of course it didn't happen. This is such a small town. Everyone would know about it. She's waving a firearm.
Yeah, I read that too. That was great. All right. As I lean in to check her eyes, my older patient got a little frisky. You remind me of my third husband, she said coyly. Third husband? I asked. How many have you had? 2.
Oh, my. Ooh la la. Oh, lady.
When I went to the ER to have a painful ingrown toenail removed, I was sobbing, gagging, petrified, the works. But my doctor knew how to calm me down. Don't worry about a thing, he assured me. I just looked up how to perform this operation on YouTube.
Oh, my gosh.
Could you imagine if your doctor said that?
Give you the
I don't know.
anesthesia and then say that to you. You're like, oh, then I have to go to sleep.
I don't know if I would laugh or just like freak out even more.
I don't know. Oh my gosh. That is so funny though.
A woman had a gynecologist appointment one afternoon. Before leaving home, she used a little feminine deodorant spray just in case. She gets to her appointment and is assisted into the stirrups for her pelvic exam. The doctor takes a quick look and says, "My, aren't we fancy today?" She had not used her feminine deodorant spray. She had instead accidentally used her daughter's glitter hairspray. My, aren't we fancy today? Wouldn't you die? She thought she was going out on a date.
Oh my gosh, that would suck though. You'd be getting glitter out of your shit for months.
During surgery, my fellow resident bumped heads with the surgeon. Dr. Jones, a meeting of the minds, he said, laughing it off. The surgeon mumbled, yes, and I felt so alone.
I totally missed that one.
Oh
I was
my
thinking,
gosh.
I was thinking about glittery
Shut
pussy.
up, listen. During surgery, are you listening?
I just said glittery pussy and you
Oh,
didn't react.
I didn't. I didn't hear you. I was trying to read my next story.
I'm sorry. I can't get over the fancy pussy. Oh my gosh. That's the funniest thing. I'm sorry. Okay, woo, surgery, what?
Are you ready now?
Yes.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
You just snorted.
I do that.
Okay.
I just had a bubble in my throat.
All right. Are you listening?
Yes, surgery.
During surgery, my fellow resident bumped heads with the surgeon. Dr. Jones, a meeting of the minds, he said, laughing it off. The surgeon mumbled, yes, and I felt so alone. Okay. A friend of mine mistakenly called her gynecologist instead of her dentist to make an appointment and started the call by admitting she was overdue for a cleaning. That sounds like a personal problem to me.
She'd be like, now, I just want to mention. Could you imagine? I think that'd just messed me up. Oh my gosh! Did you imagine being on the other end of that phone call?
I'd be like,
I'd be like, oh my god, take a shower.
yeah. Use some glitter hairspray.
My computer's getting ready to die.
Oh.
Was that the last one?
Yeah, that was the last one I had.
Okay, so look us up on Facebook. Like I said, I'm going to post some pictures about what we talked about tonight. And send us your stories. We still want to hear about it. Tell everybody you know that likes podcasts. Even if they don't, tell them that they have to listen to us because they do. And again, email us your stories, ghouls.nightoutpodcast@gmail.com. You can look us up on Twitter. You can find our episodes on Stitcher, iTunes, Podcast Addict. You can even find them on YouTube now. So look us up, and we will talk to you.
Spotify.
Oh, yeah, Spotify. There's a bunch of them, right? Oh, Google Play. Did I say that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There's a bunch. And if I'm missing some, let me know. But, yeah, we will talk to you next week. It may be a little late, but we're going to go on our ghost walk, and we're going to do stories about that. So we will talk to you next week.
Later.
Bye.